Hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in for this special episode. In today's video, we're diving into a powerful and emotional story inspired by real events, the North Sea flood of 1953. This narrative follows a Dutch family as they face one of the most devastating natural disasters in European history. Through rising waters, desperation, and heartbreak, they struggle to survive the unforgiving force of nature that changed the Netherlands forever. If this story has moved you, write your thoughts in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a story if we upload. We from Sleep Mode Stories wish a great night's sleep. Let's start. The North Sea Flood of 1953. Part 1. The Quiet Before the Roar. In the cold heart of the Dutch winter, January 1953, the wind never slept. It groaned through the slats of barns and whistled under doors, forever reminding the people of Zeeland that they lived in a land borrowed from the sea. Oudekerk on Zee was a modest village nestled behind tall dikes, its houses low and square, painted in quiet colors that suited the stubborn people who built them. In a brick farmhouse with mossy shingles, Klaas van der Veen rubbed a hand over his weather-cracked face and stared out the kitchen window. The sky was gray again, not the soft gray of snow or mist, but a heavy, dead color. The kind of sky that made the chickens restless and the goat in the shed stamp its hooves. Anna, his wife, was folding Peter's cloth nappies by the stove. Their youngest, barely 10 months old, slept nearby in a cradle with a hand-sewn quilt pulled up to his chin. "You see the wind?" Klaas asked, pointing at the dike in the distance. "It's been blowing from the northwest for 2 days straight." "That's not right." Anna didn't look up. "It's January, Klaas. The wind always blows. Not like this." He walked to the sink and leaned on the counter. "I went to the dike this morning. The tide's higher than I've ever seen. And that sea's not just restless, it's angry." Anna let the nappy fall into the basket. "You sound like January, always seeing omens in puddles." Klaas turned sharply. "That's not fair." She softened. We can't live in fear of the sea. We live with it. That's what your father always said." He gave a low sigh. "And my father died with water in his lungs, remember?" At that moment, 12-year-old Willem burst into the kitchen, cheeks red from the cold. "Papa, Jan says the wind's bad. He's tying his chickens to the coop poles." Anna arched a brow. "Tying chickens? That old man's going senile," Klaas muttered. "I heard that," came Jan's muffled voice from outside the window. Klaas leaned out and waved. Jan, bundled in a thick scarf and coat patched more times than he could count, waved back from his own muddy yard. He was trying to reinforce his shed roof with a plank that looked suspiciously like part of a bed frame. "You two can argue about chickens later," Anna said. Josh stopped drawing on the table. 8-year-old Josh looked up with innocent eyes. "It's not the table, Mama. I'm drawing a boat, so it doesn't sink." "That's morbid," Willem muttered. "It's smart," Josh replied. "If it sinks, I'll draw wings." Klaas chuckled despite himself. "That's the spirit." By nightfall, the wind howled louder. The house trembled just enough to keep everyone on edge. After dinner, potatoes, pickled cabbage, and cold sausage. They lit the oil lamps and listened to the crackling BBC radio. The broadcast spoke of an incoming storm system sweeping over the North Sea. Gale force winds, high tides, severe conditions along the British coast. "I don't like the sound of that," Klaas muttered, tuning the dial. The Dutch station remained calm. Nothing urgent, nothing alarming, just elevated water levels expected in western dike areas. That was all. "No warnings?" Anna asked. "No evacuations," Klaas said, frowning. "Just like before. You think they'd tell us if something was really wrong?" "I think they'd try," he answered. "But trying isn't always enough." That night, Klaas couldn't sleep. He lay awake while Anna snored softly beside him, Peter wheezing quietly in the cradle nearby. Downstairs, the shutters banged once. He got up and looked out the window again. The dike was a black silhouette against the stars. No lights, no movement, just wind and water. He dressed silently and stepped out into the bitter air, walking the muddy path to Jan's farm. His boots sank with every step. Jan was outside again, lantern in hand. Couldn't sleep either? No. Klaus adjusted his scarf. That sea's too close. I feel it in my chest. Jan handed him the lantern. Walk with me, then. They climbed the side of the dike together, old boots crunching frost. At the top, the full view hit them like a slap. The sea was practically at eye level. Waves slapped the dike stones with heavy fists. There was no visible beach anymore. Just water, rising. She's high, Jan murmured. Too high. You ever seen it like this? Never. Jan gave a long, slow breath. I had a dream last night. My house floated away. I stood on the roof with a chicken under each arm. Klaus chuckled dryly. And what happened? Woke up before we landed. I think we were headed to Belgium. Klaus turned serious. If the wind keeps pushing and that tide keeps climbing, she could breach. Jan finished. They didn't speak for a long time. Back at home, Anna stood in the doorway in her nightdress, clutching Peter close. Where have you been? Klaus took the baby and kissed his head, checking the dike. I don't want to wake up to water in the bed, Klaus. He nodded. I know. I'll wake the children early, just in case. Should we leave? And go where? The water's everywhere. She hesitated. Still, maybe pack a bag? I already did. He paused. Let's keep the children in bed tonight. No sense frightening them unless we have to. She nodded, eyes wide. You think we'll have to? I don't know, he said honestly. But I think we're standing in the path of something coming. And I don't think we can stop it. At 2 a.m., Klaus stepped outside one last time. The wind hit him like an open palm. He walked once more to the dike alone. The sea was just inches from the edge. He turned toward the dark village. Smoke still curled from chimneys. Lanterns glowed in windows. Somewhere a dog barked, then fell silent. Klaus looked back at the water, and for the first time in his life, he was afraid of it. Part 2, the break. The clock on the wall read 3:04 a.m. when the first noise came, not thunder, not wind. It was deeper. A terrible, groaning moan like something ancient had just broken open beneath the earth. Klaus sat up straight in bed. He didn't even need to guess. He leapt out of the blankets, his heart already hammering. He threw on his coat, boots half-laced, and stumbled downstairs into the darkness, stepping over the cold floorboards just as the house gave a subtle shudder. Outside, a blast of wind nearly knocked him over. But it wasn't the wind that made him stop mid-step. It was the roar. It was growing fast, like 1,000 horses galloping over steel. It came from the direction of the dike and closer now, rushing through the black like a monster unleashed. Then he saw it. Not a wave, not a swell, a wall of water. Oh God! He turned and ran, lungs burning. The roar chased him. Water slammed into the village edge, lifting fences like paper, ripping trees from the ground. Klaus splashed through ankle-deep water before he even reached the front steps. Anna, get up! He bellowed, throwing open the door. A blast of wind and spray followed him in. She was already standing in the hallway, barefoot and clutching Peter in her arms. What's happening? The dike's gone, Klaus shouted. Get the children. We have to get up now. Willem, Anna called. I'm here, the boy yelled, already dragging a canvas satchel. It's flooding outside. The street's gone. Josh came running from the bedroom, holding her stuffed rabbit by one ear. Why is it so loud? Upstairs go, Klaus shouted, grabbing Josh with one arm and shoving her toward the steps. The water burst through the door as they scrambled. It came in like a living thing, slamming into the hallway and sweeping a kitchen chair against the wall. Klaus threw the attic rope down from the stairwell as the house groaned beneath them. Willem reached the top first, helping Josh through the narrow hatch. Anna stumbled, water now, thigh deep, still cradling Peter. Klaus reached her and yanked her forward. Hold tight to me. I can't ease Peter's soaked, she gasped. I've got you, he shouted, lifting both her and the baby through sheer force. The ground floor vanished behind them in a black rush of noise and debris. They slammed the attic hatch shut just as the first floor submerged. For a moment, there was only darkness and their own breathing. Then a loud crack. A beam below gave way. The floor shifted beneath their feet. They were in the attic now, a cramped space with low ceilings and barely room to stand. But it was dry for now. Peter cried, a thin, choking sound. Anna pressed her lips to his head. Sure, Sitch, I got you. You're safe. You're safe. Josh clung to her rabbit. Mama, why did the sea come into our house? Anna blinked fast. It didn't mean to. It just got too full. It's angry, Josh whispered. Klaus looked out the attic's side window, which faced toward the village. His hands trembled. Not angry. Hungry. What do you see? Willem asked, stepping beside him. Klaus didn't speak. Willem climbed up beside him and looked. The view froze him. Roofs. Dozens of them. Some still whole. Some already collapsing. People standing on them. Crying. Waving. And water. Nothing but water in all directions. Where's Jan's farm? Willem whispered. Klaus swallowed hard. It was lower than ours. But you don't see it? No. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoed across the flooded streets. Help! Please! A woman's voice. Shrieking. Then cut off. Anna closed her eyes. It's not just us, Klaus muttered. It's the whole village. Maybe more. What do we do? Anna asked, rocking Peter. We wait. We survive. They sat in silence, huddled against each other. The storm raged above them, the wind shaking the old rafters like a child might shake a box. We should have left, Anna whispered. You were right, Klaus. We had no warning. They said it was just springtide. Willem's voice cracked. We're going to die, aren't we? No, Klaus said sharply. No, Willem. Not on my watch. Josh sniffled. Papa. Yes, Maish. Will the sea take us, too? Klaus put a hand on her shoulder. Not if we stay smart. Not if we stay together. Hours passed. The house creaked beneath them, its wooden frames soaked and weakened. Outside, a chimney collapsed in the distance. It echoed like a gunshot. Klaus looked at his children, their pale faces lit by the single oil lamp. His jaw tightened. I'm going to get us through this, he murmured. He wasn't sure if he was trying to convince them or himself. Part 3. The Waiting. Dawn did not arrive with a sunrise, but with a pale, sickly glow that seeped through the cracks in the attic boards. There was no color, no warmth, only light enough to see the world had not returned to what it was. The storm had passed in the night, but its wake had drowned everything. Klaus wiped the condensation from the attic window with the sleeve of his coat. What he saw made his heart falter. It was a sea, not a flood, not a pond, not standing water. It was the sea itself, stretched across their fields, across their streets, reaching as far as his eyes could see. Only the sharp peaks of rooftops broke the surface here and there, like the tips of sunken mountains. Anything? Anna asked. She was curled on the attic floor, cradling Peter against her chest. He had stopped crying hours ago, and his skin was hot and damp. Klaus shook his head. Water. Only water. Josh sat against the wall, legs drawn up to her chest. Her stuffed rabbit dangled from one hand. I want to go outside. No, Maish, Anna said gently. It's too cold. Willem was sitting quietly near the hatch, his hands around his knees. No one's coming. They will, Klaus said. When? It's been hours. I don't hear anything. They have to organize boats. There's so many people. They'll come. I don't think they will, Willem muttered. They don't even know we're here. Klaus looked at his son. They'll come, but we need to be seen. We'll go up to the roof when it's light. Anna's voice was tight. Not with Peter. He's burning up, Klaus. We'll take turns. We'll make a signal. If they see us, they'll send a boat. And if the house collapses? He paused. Then we hold each other, and we don't let go. They sat in silence. Time moved strangely, sluggish and weighty. Every groan of wood beneath them made them flinch. Eventually, Klaus stood and pulled open the attic hatch. The stairs below were no longer visible, just a black pool lapping silently at the wood. The water was now only centimeters beneath them. I'm going out first, he said. Then Willem, you come after. Anna caught his arm. Be careful. He kissed her forehead. Always. He climbed through the window that opened onto the steep roof, using the old gutter as leverage. The cold slapped him instantly, windless but biting. Ice crusted the roof tiles. He moved slowly, crawling to the chimney, where he tied a rope that had once hung in the barn. All right, he called. One at a time. Willem emerged, teeth chattering, and together they helped Josh out next. She clung to the rope like a vine. When they were all safely positioned near the chimney, Klaus raised his coat in the air and began to wave it back and forth. "Help!" Willem shouted. "We're here. Help us. Please," Josh added, waving her rabbit. But there was no reply, just the silent, endless water. A roof in the distance held another family. Klaus saw a woman standing there, holding a child in a red coat. She waved something white, then turned her attention back to her child. Others dotted the rooftops, some standing, some sitting, some slumped over and unmoving. Josh pulled on her father's sleeve. "Why don't they help us?" "They're waiting, just like us," he said. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, but gave no heat. Their clothes clung to them like wet rags. Eventually, they climbed back inside, their limbs shaking, their hope bruised. Anna was crying softly. "He's not breathing right." Klaus placed a hand on Peter's chest. The baby's breaths were shallow, rapid. "We need medicine," Anna said. "Or a doctor. Or even milk. We don't have anything." "I know," Klaus said. "We should have left when you told me to pack," she whispered. "I should have listened." He shook his head. "We couldn't have known. We trusted the dikes. We trusted the system." "They were wrong," Willem said suddenly. "Everyone was wrong." His voice cracked. He looked away, ashamed. Klaus crouched beside him. "You can be angry. I am too. But we're alive. We stay alive. That's all we can do." "I can help," Willem said. "Let me take the coat and wave again. Maybe someone will see. We'll go up again in a few hours. Rest first." That night, the house shifted. A long groan ran through the beams, and something under them cracked sharply. Klaus stood. "The house is moving." Anna looked up. "What?" "It's not steady anymore. The current's pulling it off the foundation. What happens if it goes?" "Then we float. Or it breaks apart." Josh whimpered. "I don't want to float, Papa." "You won't," Klaus said quickly. "I'll hold you." Willem stood. "We should sleep in turns." "Yes," Klaus said. "I'll take first watch." "No," Anna said. "We both will." And so they sat, shoulder to shoulder, their children asleep, wrapped in blankets and hope. The water outside lapped against the walls. The roof creaked like an old ship, and above it all, the stars began to appear. Silent, distant witnesses to the night the sea came home. Part 4. The Thinning Line. The fourth day began in silence. No wind, no voices, no birds. Even the water was still. Klaus opened the attic window with careful hands. The frame creaked as it swung outward. He stared across the flooded land, flat and endless, glistening like oil under the white sky. But today, for the first time, he saw movement. A boat. "Anna," he hissed. "A rescue boat." She stirred, then jolted up. "Where?" "There, just left of the barn roof." "Willem, Josh, wake up." The children blinked, groggy, cold, confused. "What is it?" Josh murmured. "A boat," Klaus said. "A real one." Willem shot to his feet and climbed onto the roof before anyone could stop him. "Hey, over here!" he screamed, waving his arms. "Here!" Klaus followed. "Help! We're on the roof." Josh joined, clutching the soaked rabbit in one hand and waving the other. "Please, help us." The boat's small, gray, loud rumbled between rooftops. There were two men inside. One wore a yellow slicker and stood with a megaphone. The other drove. "They see us." Willem groaned. The boat approached slowly. The man with the megaphone raised a hand. "We can only take 3. Too many ahead. We'll be back." Klaus stared at him. "What?" 3 people, the man shouted. "We're out of space. There are more behind you. We'll return soon." Anna stepped forward from the attic, her eyes wild. "Take the baby," she said immediately. "No," Klaus said. "We'll wait. We stay together." Anna rounded on him. "We can't." "Peter, Klaus, he won't survive another night." Peter coughed weakly in her arms, his skin pale and hot to the touch. Klaus hesitated. Willem looked at him. "Papa, let me take Josh. Let me go with Mama." "No." Josh shouted. "We stay." "Shoo," Anna said, her voice cracking. "We don't have a choice." "I'll stay," Klaus said. "Take the children and Anna. I'll wait for the next boat." "No," Anna said, voice low. "No, we all go or—" "There's no time." The boatman called. "Make a choice." Klaus turned to his wife. You have to go. For them. For him. Anna looked at him, tears streaming. Will you be okay? I'll be waiting. I promise. He turned to Willem. You protect your mother. And Josh. Willem nodded. I will. The men in the boat reached out. Klaus helped Josh down first. She clung to his coat, sobbing. You promised, she cried. You said we'd stay together. We will, Klaus said softly. Soon. He kissed her forehead, then lifted Peter into the arms of the boatman. The baby whimpered, barely conscious. Then Anna climbed down, then Willem. The boat rocked as it turned, groaning under the weight of its passengers. I love you, Anna called as it pulled away. I love you more, Klaus replied. They disappeared into the fog, and then he was alone. He climbed back onto the roof, knelt by the chimney, and stared after them. Minutes passed, then an hour, then two. He didn't wave again. He didn't shout. He just waited. That night, the cold returned. Klaus curled against the chimney, the rope tied tightly around his waist in case he slipped in his sleep. He could still feel Anna's warmth on his skin, still smell the children's hair in the wind. The roof was slick with ice and silence. The stars blinked above him like uncaring gods. He didn't sleep. In the darkness, he spoke to himself. They're safe, he murmured. They're warm now. You did the right thing. But another voice inside him whispered, they're gone, and you're not. At some point, the roof creaked again. Something inside the house shifted. He heard a groan, then a dull crack. The house was giving up. He tightened the rope. If it fell, he wouldn't let go. And still he whispered the names, like prayers into the freezing air. Anna, Josh, Willem, Peter, again and again. Part 5. The Aftermath. Klaus didn't remember collapsing. When the second rescue boat found him the next morning, he was curled like a question mark against the chimney, barely conscious. His lips were blue, his beard coated in frost. His hands clutched the rope at his waist, white-knuckled. He wasn't speaking anymore, but his mouth moved silently. The boatman leaned over him and caught the words. Josh, Willem, Anna, Peter, got a live one, the man called out. He's frozen but breathing. They hauled him aboard. His eyes fluttered but didn't focus. He shivered once, then stopped. He needs warmth, the boatman said. Now, wrapped in blankets and coats, they sped toward the inland shelters toward high ground, dry ground life. Klaus woke 2 days later in a church hall in Gouda. The pews had been cleared and replaced with cots. The air smelled of wood polish, boiled cabbage, and damp wool. People moved like ghosts between the bed survivors wrapped in silence. He blinked. He tried to sit. A hand stopped him. Don't move yet, said a voice. A woman, early 50s, red cheeks, nurse's armband. You're lucky. The roof nearly gave. Klaus's mouth felt full of sand. My family. Name. He struggled. Klaus von der Fein. Her eyes flicked to a clipboard. You're very lucky, she said again. Then came the sound that broke him completely. Papa. He turned his head. Anna stood at the foot of his cot, holding Josh in one arm, Willem behind her. And in her other arm swaddled, alive, was baby Peter. Tears spilled from his eyes before he could speak. Anna dropped to her knees beside him. You made it, she whispered. I told you I would. They held each other like survivors of a shipwreck. Josh clung to his sleeve. Willem leaned in, tears streaming down his face, trying not to cry. Peter gave a tiny cough, then nestled back into his mother's arms. Later, Klaus sat upright, wrapped in 2 blankets. He held Josh close while Willem ate a boiled egg beside him. What happened after the boat left? Willem asked. I waited, Klaus said. I kept telling myself they'd come back. I was afraid. If I blinked, they'd forget me. They didn't, Anna said, sitting beside him. I made sure they didn't. You saved them, Klaus said. All of you. You got them here. I had to, she replied softly. You gave me no choice. They laughed through tears. In the days that followed, news of the disaster spread across the Netherlands and the world. 1,836 dead, 72,000 evacuated, 47,000 homes damaged or destroyed. Entire villages had vanished. Oude Kerk aan Zee was no more. The fields had been scoured. The church collapsed. Jan was never found. His farmhouse was seen floating, intact, 5 kilometers inland, carried on the tide like a coffin. Klaus helped carry bodies for burial. He recognized neighbors by scarves, shoes, wedding rings. He never found Jan's cap, the one he always wore in the rain. He buried a piece of driftwood on the spot where Jan's house used to be. When the water receded, there were meetings. Officials, engineers, survivors. They spoke in halls and barns about how this would never happen again. And so the Delta works began. Klaus was there, hammer in hand. He built dikes, poured concrete, learned the language of floodgates. He worked with the same silent conviction he had when building cribs and kitchen chairs. But now every nail he drove was a memory. Every bolt was a prayer. He built to keep his children safe. Years passed. Willem became a civil engineer. He helped design water management systems and never built a house without studying the soil beneath it. Josh became a teacher. Every year, she told her students the story of the night the sea broke through. And Peter grew strong and quiet, like his father. He rarely spoke of that night, but whenever the wind blew hard against the windows, he'd hold his breath without knowing why. As for Klaus and Anna, they never returned to Ouderkirk. They built a new home farther inland. But Klaus would often walk to the edge of the new dike. Stand there, look out, not with fear, but with reverence. One autumn, years later, Josh stood beside him on that dike. The sea stretched calmly under a golden sky. The new barrier's massive, shining stood proud in the water. "Do you still hear it?" she asked. He nodded. "Sometimes I think I always will." She took his hand. "Are you still afraid?" "No," he said quietly. "I'm not afraid of the sea. I'm afraid of forgetting." They stood there a long while. The wind blew gently through the grass, but this time it did not howl. "Sleep well now, but never forget. The sea remembers, even when we do not."